Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. All right, the Georgia Bulldogs are finally national champions for the first time since 1980 and got the redemption against Alabama from the previous championship in 2018, where Alabama won on a game-winning 40-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith to win it 26-23. Now, in this game, the first half started off really slow, and because it was 9-6, straight field goals, nothing exciting was happening. But as soon as that second half hit, all the excitement was coming in left and right, as there were 5 total touchdowns scored, 4 by Georgia and 1 by Alabama, as Georgia won 33-18 and finished the season 14-1 as champions. Now, this is Kirby Smart's first championship, and what's really cool about it is that he got a championship at his alma mater. Nothing better than to do that, especially as a coach, even being a player too. But with Georgia, I think they finally put themselves on the map as a legit contender for years to come, and hopefully that someone can replace Alabama's dynasty. Might be Georgia, might be somebody else, because I'm pretty sure, except for Alabama fans obviously, I'm pretty sure everybody else, including myself, is sick of Alabama winning it every single year. But that just goes to show how great Nick Saban is, because he has 7 chips, 6 with Bama and 1 with LSU. And here's the crazy thing about Georgia being champions. They're champions for the first time since 1980. And let me put that into perspective, how long ago this was. And I'm probably about to make a whole bunch of people feel old. And how crazy it is it was last time they won the champion was in 1980. And guess who was playing on that team? If you know college football, then you know this player. Herschel Walker was a freshman in 1980 for the University of Georgia and won a chip in his freshman year. And he was a phenomenal running back, as it was. One of the greatest college running backs to ever do it. But with Georgia, they finally, especially just Georgia in general with all sports, because they finally won chips after they got so many times memed as blowing leads left and right. The Falcons 28-3, the Braves 3-1. And Georgia a 15-point lead when it was in the 2018 championship. And now Georgia and God all around in sports now finally put themselves on the map and finish the project. All right, now speaking of college football and the college football playoffs, the leaders failed to agree on expansion this year, and it could very well get agreed upon between 4, 8, or 12 teams to continue with before 2025, as that is when the contract expires. But here's the thing. The commissioner and all the committee members are thinking either 4, 8, or 12. In my opinion, 12 is too much. No one wants to watch the number 1 team face the number 12 team and just watch number 1 blow them out, even though it's a ranked matchup. To me, the perfect playoff would be 6 teams, because it'd be really interesting, because this year, if it was 6 teams and they did that, it's a lot more interesting, especially with Ohio State, at least at the time. 6 against 1, Ohio State versus Bama at the time. That's a better matchup than Bama versus the 12th team, or Bama facing Mississippi, of who was number 8. 6 to me is the magic number, because 6 Ohio State versus Bama, that would have been an interesting matchup. And then you got Baylor, who is number 5. And imagine Michigan against Baylor. That's an even more interesting matchup because of how close the rankings are. The farther apart the rankings are, the worse it's going to be, because no one wants to see blowouts. We want to see action, and we want to see great games in the playoffs because that's what the playoffs are meant for. But I'm hoping, I'm pretty sure they will before 2025, unless it's the year of 2025, that they can agree on a decision to expand the playoffs. And it's definitely a great idea to expand it because 4 teams does seem too little, but 12 is way too big. All right, now let's get into the NFL. Coaches were fired left and right. Mike Zimmer, even GMs too. Mike Zimmer, Ryan Spielman, Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy, Brian Flores. Now, out of every single one, this is the most interesting firing, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. It's Brian Flores. Why? Everyone is questioning this right now. Why did Miami fire Brian Flores? This was the year he started getting the juices flowing. They lost 7 straight, and then they won 8 of their final 9 games of the season. And Miami actually had a good record, and they were starting to actually believe in Tua Tagovailoa because at first, yeah, this is what kind of bothers me, and is that people are so quick to judge players on their talents because unless you are Tom Brady, where you win a Super Bowl in your second year, or even Russell Wilson, or even Patrick Mahomes, as they're the only quarterbacks in NFL history to win a Super Bowl in their second year of the league. Everyone is expecting that every single time of a new quarterback. And this year, Tua Tagovailoa finally was coming around, getting the juices flowing with his team, knowing the plays, getting chemistry with them, and knowing how these guys play. And you fire Brian Flores right as soon as the good part is about to happen? Like, what? How can you fire a coach who's only been there for 3 seasons and was coaching a team who's known for dysfunction and not really a normal overall good team? This was a huge mistake by the Dolphins. Unless they somehow get like Jim Harbaugh or something, it's going to be really hard to especially even if it was a Jim Harbaugh, it's going to be a lot harder now because they got a new coach, because Brian Flores also had chemistry with his team. Because when you lose that, when you break that chemistry off, it goes straight to hell with the team. And Miami ownership and staff just did that, and they just screwed themselves over with that, because now there's a good chance that Tua might not have as good as a season as we might expect going into next year based on what he done this year, because he knew Brian Flores and Brian Flores knew him. They understood each other, and they were starting to understand each other more and more. Miami made a huge mistake. All right, now I'm going to talk some NFL history. Mike Evans, 8 straight seasons to start off his career. No one's ever done it. No one's had more than 7, because the record is 7. And now Mike Evans has 8. Mike Evans is now the best wide receiver in the NFL today. Now hear me out on this. There's a difference between being the best wide receiver and having the best wide receiver season. Because if we're talking about the best and it was based off numbers every year, we can say that Cooper Kupp is the best wide receiver in the NFL today. I mean, he was this year for sure. 1,947 yards, 145 receptions, 16 touchdowns. Unbelievable season. But like I said, there's a difference between having the best season and being the best. Because, for example, Jerry Rice could have, in his career for 1 year, had only 400 yards receiving, and a rookie that year could have had 1,500 yards. But that doesn't mean that wide receiver, that rookie is going to be or was the greatest wide receiver ever. That is a huge difference. But as I said, Mike Evans is just setting records left and right, and he is too freaking good right now. And his numbers would be higher by probably a couple hundred more yards, but like Tom Brady has got all kinds of weapons to throw to, so it's going to be hard to actually have like a great season like Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, as those guys were the top 4 or 5 receivers to have the best numbers. He's better than Julio. Julio had 1,205 yards over the last 2 seasons along with 4 touchdowns. His 3rd season ago, before that, he had more than what's combined over the last 2. And with Devontae Adams, here is what people are not understanding. And I don't know how the heck Devontae Adams got, based on last year, I get it, 1,374 yards, 18 touchdowns, definitely deserving of a 99 overall because of a great season. And then after that, they're calling him the 1st or 2nd best wide receiver. Slow down. Devontae Adams is a top 5 wide receiver, 100%, but he is not the best because he's had Aaron Rodgers his entire career, and Mike Evans has had a dysfunctional quarterback who is an interception machine, who liked to throw an interception almost every single pass. And he should have won the Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago, 3 years ago, when he threw 30 interceptions. That's definitely deserving of Defensive Player of the Year. But also, Mike Evans is 1,200 yards ahead of Devontae Adams, and they were drafted the same year. Devontae Adams has had Aaron Rodgers his entire career. Until last year, Mike Evans finally got a good quarterback instead of a quarterback in Jameis Winston who likes to throw it up and doesn't care, and hoping that Mike Evans comes down with it, or else it would be a pick, which was almost every other freaking play. But Mike Evans is also on a historic pace, as he is number 8. He is the 8th most touchdowns in the first 8 seasons of his career with 75, and he is on the pace with legends like Larry Fitzgerald and Calvin Johnson and a few others. And he's also number 10 in most receiving yards in this first 8 seasons. Mike Evans is on a historic pace, 1,000 yards every year. Who knows how long this 1,000-yard stuff could keep up, because Mike Evans is this good of what I'm about to say. Let's just say Mike Evans plays 15 to 17 seasons. Let's just say that. Within those 17 seasons, Mike Evans is good enough for 100% fact to be a wide receiver that can get 16,000 yards in his career, and he's on pace 9,300 yards in his first 8 seasons. Mike Evans is truly special and is probably the best wide receiver of being the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. He does all these crazy stats and hardly gets the accolades for it unless the announcers talk about it, because not too many people on SportsCenter talk about it unless he did something truly insane. Mike Evans is way better than a lot of people think, and I hope that people can take notice, but it's hard to when you play on the losingest sports franchise in sports history as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as they were also used to be called the Succaneers. Because of how bad they are, being the worst sports franchise in sports history. Like, think about that. What Mike Evans is doing on one of the worst teams in sports history, that says something a lot. Alright, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.